Good day, everybody. Welcome to another Zoom audio with Mary Jane and myself. We're so happy you're here. For those listening later on and who may not know me, I am Jan Jeremias, the co-host of these gatherings. And a little bit about me for more than a long time. I'll just say that. I like what you always say. I don't remember the exact word, Mary Jane, but seasoned, I think you use. Um, a seasoned practitioner focusing on health. And I've done so focusing on health and wellness for the past number of years in my own life. And over the past number of decades, I've blended my roots in clinical research with a deep love for holistic wellness to support both people and their pets in living longer, fuller, and more connected lives. My passion is helping others see the whole picture of their well-being, physical, mental, and emotional, and gently translating that into a simple, meaningful blueprint for everyday health. Just clarity, compassion, and practices that truly fit with real lives. I feel that people thrive in community, connection, and kindness, and share this passion with my dear friend and collaborator here, Mary Jane McQueen. And together we believe in bringing more kindness into the world, one creative moment, one conscious breath, and one heartfelt conversation at a time. So, a heartfelt thank you to Mary Jane and to each and every one of you for showing up, for listening, for being here. I know it warms my heart so much each time I see your name or your image on Zoom or in person, and I'm really grateful to be here with you all. And Mary Jane, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Jan. Yes, seasoned. Yes, that is my word of choice these days. Sometimes I say tenured. So, yes, welcome everyone. And yes, I am Mary Jane McQueen and a tenured graphic designer and creative founder of MJ McQueen Creative Studio. And it is a blessing and an honor and a joy to be the co-founder of Spirit Born Imaginings alongside Jan Jeremias. And in this space, we hold gentle, intentional conversations and meditative experiences that we invite you to slow down, soften, and reconnect with yourself. Because for us, it's meant to be a place of presence, compassion, and curiosity, and where mindfulness, breath, and energy awareness and creative reflection can come together to support self-kindness and transformation. And there's nothing you need to do or achieve here. It's only an invitation to arrive exactly as you are in the moment. And I am always honored and blessed to be in presence with you and, of course, with Jan, my wondrous collaborator, who is an amazing support and just a beautiful human being. And so, to begin today's chat, I wanted to share a poem with an invitation to listen inward and to be present for whatever's here for us today. It's called I Believe, and it's by, I apologize if I butchered the name, Nami Darguth. In dawn's first light and twilight's gentle fade, I see the hand of God in all that's made. The stars that shimmer in the velvet night reflect glory infinite and bright. I trust the goodness dwelling in each heart, a spark of kindness eager to impart. Though shadows sometimes cloud the human soul, I believe compassion makes us whole. In nature's realm where wildflowers bloom and forests whisper secrets in the gloom, I find a solace peaceful and profound, a testament to life's unbroken round. Humanity with all its flaws and grace, I hold in reverence, for in each face there lies potential, beauty yet unseen, a shared existence, complex and serene. In acts of kindness, selfless and sincere, I see a world where love dissolves all fear. Rewards may not be tangible or swift, yet every gentle deed becomes a gift. Through toil and labor, honest and intense, I value effort, not just recompense. For in the striving, characters formed, and souls through dedication are transformed. Equality, a right for every soul, no matter origin or earthly role. I dream of days when justice will prevail, and dignity for all will never fail. These are the truths that guide me through each day, beliefs that light my path and shape my way. In faith, in hope, in love's enduring creed, I find the strength and inspiration I need.
Thank you so much, Mary Jane, for sharing that poem. So welcome. We welcome you to faith, hope, belief, and trust, a quiet strength within. Wherever you are arriving from today, whether you feel grounded, searching, uncertain, hopeful, or simply in need of a pause, you are welcome here just as you are. We gather at a time when the world can feel unsettled. There's so much change, so much movement, and at times a sense of global unrest that can touch each of us in different ways. It can feel overwhelming, disorienting, and even heavy on the heart. And yet, it is often in these very moments that we are invited to turn inward, to reconnect with something deeper, steadier, and more enduring within ourselves. This space is an invitation to return to that place, to begin with faith, that quiet, often unspoken knowing that there is something more holding us, even when we cannot fully see or understand it. Faith does not require certainty. It simply asks us to remain open. From there, we allow hope to gently rise, not as a loud declaration, but as a soft presence, a reminder that even in the midst of challenge, possibility still exists. Hope helps us take the next step, even when the path ahead is unclear. As hope begins to take root, it deepens into belief. This is where things become more personal. Belief is how we start to see ourselves differently, how we begin to trust in our own resilience, our capacity to grow, to heal, and to navigate life with intention and awareness. And then we arrive at trust. Trust asks us to release the need to control every outcome and instead soften into what is unfolding. It is a quiet surrender, not passive, but deeply grounded. Trust allows us to exhale, to find steadiness even when the world around us feels uncertain. Together, faith, hope, belief, and trust form a quiet strength within us, one that is not loud or forceful, but steady, resilient, and deeply rooted. It is found in the small moments, in reflection, in stillness, in the willingness to continue one step at a time. It is nurtured through presence, through connection, and through the simple practices that bring us back to ourselves. This is a space for gentle awareness, self-reflection, and shared humanity. a space where we can acknowledge both the challenges we face and the strength we carry, a space where we remember that we are not alone. And as we begin, allow yourself to arrive fully. Take a breath, soften where you can, and trust that whatever you are bringing into this space is welcome here.
Thank you, Jen. That was a beautiful, beautiful welcome into this space, and definitely a well-timed discussion today. I lost my word for a minute. About um, how all of these things impact their life. I think I've moved through all four of them this past week in my own personal journey, and it seems to be a a cyclical thing going round and round and round. But yeah, it's definitely a really important topic because it's we don't often think about them in those terms and the nuances of those of what those words can mean to us in our lives. So, but thank you for bringing that wonderful welcome forward.
Oh, you are so welcome, Mary Jane. And I feel the same way. I feel like I've gone through all four over the past number of months,
Well,
if
that
not
too.
if not weeks. And it's it's so interesting. I spent a lot of time over the past, week or so, 2 weeks since we've seen everybody, thinking about those four words and the connection to those four words, you know, what it means to have faith, this element of hope. I really believe that without hope, really we don't survive fully. I mean, maybe on a surface we do, but not on a deep level. I think we need some element of hope to keep going. And wherever we find that, we almost, it's almost like we look for it, for signs, for, elements in nature, for different changes in the seasons. Like I think we seek it out because I think inherently we know that without it, there's nothing like feeling that, that hopelessness, which comes over sometimes, in waves where all of a sudden we're like, you know, where we feel like we have no purpose and no reason to continue. So I think we need that. And wherever we can find it, whether it be in community, in conversation, getting out in nature, spending time doing spiritual things, spiritual practices or meditation or whatever it is, I think that we have to, I think it's really important.
Yeah, well, it definitely is, and I love the way that you sort of phrased it. I think I'm trying to remember exactly how you said it about um, because it really begins with faith, and it's faith is more about asking us to remain open, and then I think that's more of a taking in hope can be hopefully, an outward moving. Action. It's not just a passive where we're allowing our basis in whatever thing we're putting our faith in, and we're allowing hope to come forward. I loved. I think what did you called it in your welcome? You were saying as a soft presence. I love that. It's just it's the beginning. It's the starting stages. I like to think of belief. It's where you're just it's germinating, and your belief is when you can put, I guess, more action to hope. It's not just a passive, it's moving it into action. So I love the Yes, and it's funny how it is a cyclical thing. It's as we move through these periods of different things that might be happening around us and in our personal lives or whatever may be happening. It's definitely a importance to integrate that essence of faith, whatever that means to you, and to bring forward the hope. Um,
Mhm.
because it's true. There's nothing as debilitating as that sense of hopelessness, and feeling like we're all alone in our journey. And that's why spaces like this are so important, because realizing that we aren't alone in our journey and that we're all going through phases of this as we move through life. And how blessed are we to be able to share the space with all of you.
Hmm. Yeah, and something so agree, Mary Jane. And I think there is like something about that hope that it is active. It reminds me of, I think in the opening it's like I phrase it as it's a gentle rising, and it
Yes, I
reminds me
did.
of the breath of being like taking a conscious breath where you actually are aware of that inhale and you actually bring it in. To me, that is, that's connected to hope. It's the in breath. It's the active participation in a breath as opposed to the passive breathing, where, because obviously we all breathe all the time, but it's the awareness of the breath. It's the awareness of that inhale. It's like, oh, okay, I'm consciously aware that I'm inhaling, that I'm taking a breath in. And that's hope,
Hmm.
to me, when I think about it in a physical sense. And it is our active participation. I think about different circumstances in my life, whether they be health issues, which I had to deal with, and then all of a sudden it was like when I became much more aware and much more conscious of the choices I made as
Hmm.
a as an to um, feed that feeling in myself that I was doing something, that I was participating, that I could do something and it wasn't, because otherwise, not only do you feel hopeless, but you feel helpless.
Yes.
And so I think that was that feeling of like, so I think of hope as being empowering.
Yes.
And so thank you for sharing that. That was wonderful, Mary Jane. And I'll move it to Seamus.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, lovely topic, and yeah, lovely words, lovely poem as usual, Mary Jane. It brings up so much kind of yeah, food for thought, like food for heart. And like some of the words you're using there, like around choice and action, like and gentle action, um, are so important because it's that sense of control that comes with choice. You choose to act and act gently, not act forcefully and, in a world, that honors force so much and honors doing. And I think that's kind of what today's session is speaking to. And that's what I kind of experience in myself is that whole, the simplicity of creating space and choosing to create space to become aware of the breath and to make, a more intentional choice around switching attention from the outside of the doing and the business and the challenges and everything that's going on outside to actually experiencing when I create that space for me to be kinder to myself through the breath. That's kind of again when the magic happens, when I, commit to kind of becoming more aware, slowing, choosing to act, to honor myself or to go easier on myself or to be kinder to myself in a world that, again, in our own space, often we're so harsh on ourselves. But just that gentle action to choose to be kind and honor rather than kind, or rather than to beat ourselves up as we often do. I think there's great power in that. And that there's an experiential force in that deliberate choice to be kinder to yourself. Like, and again, in my own heart math practice, it's very timely actually. And I just had a conversation with Jason, John, looked earlier on today as well. And we kind of talked about the power of this process of, on the in breath, with something like when I gracefully choose to go easier on myself, even stating that intention on your in breath, and then on the out breath, stating it usually ends up going easier with others. So, on the in breath, I go easier on myself. I choose to go easier on myself, to be kinder to myself. And then on the out breath, the immediate payback is kindness to others. It just shows up that, and it's effortless. It goes from that gentle effort on the in breath to the kind of the effortless payback that emerges out of when I create and when I choose to create that space of kindness for myself. I create an energy of kindness towards others that just happens automatically out of that practice. So on the out breath, it usually ends up going easier with others. So whatever the situation is that I'm in, from that foundation of connection to self and choosing to be kinder to self, I automatically, change the game and how I engage with others or any situation that I'm in out of that very, very deceptively simple practice. But it's easier said than done to create that space in a world that honors so much busyness and doing. The actual choice to actually just create that space again is experiential, and only, we can use words to describe it. And I think we can invite people to create that space, and then it's up to them to experience whatever they experience. We can't experience it for other people, but we can certainly, try, I suppose, to be in sessions like this, to be guide rails for people to invite them to create that space, and then to kind of experience whatever happens. And maybe something will happen or maybe it won't, but creating the space to get curious and try it, and then to see what happens, I suppose. So thanks for creating this space.
Thank you, Seamus. Yeah, it was when you were speaking just now. It was like it was so what I was thinking about this morning, before we started, was this whole aspect of, that kindness to self, or that, when, um, like the whole practice, what it like where I see it for myself from my own experience is by practicing how much more accepting of other people, of giving other people the same kindness, being able to offer, um, like giving people the benefit of the doubt, not being as harsh in my judgment of others. And, and I think that has changed. Like, obviously, I know that it has changed how I navigate the world, you know, what my thoughts are. If I tend to be too harsh in my judgments in my head, that self-dialogue of judging other people or getting upset with someone, how quick I am to kind of change it in myself, to allow myself to think it, but then to sit there and say, oh, wait 1 minute, like just take a deep breath, talk about breathing, like take a deep breath and just understand. And I think that that comes from being able to do it for yourself. I think we all do it, I know everybody here, and I think we're all kind of kind people, and we try to navigate the world the best way we can. But I think it reaches a different level when you have a practice like this. I think it becomes more honest, more authentic. I think there's a different energy, total energy around it. Uh, and that's so and that's where it all begins to me. That's how we navigate the world, especially these days as I watch everything unfolding.
Yes, and where would we be without the hope and belief that things will be
Yes,
um,
absolutely.
move in a more positive and more enlightened direction? That's our. I don't want to say. I was going to say dream, but I don't want to dream. That is our belief
Hmm.
of that is what will happen. That this is a phase of learning and discernment, and that the next phase will be one of more enlightened uh, Oh, as Seamus was speaking our language, Jan, he was saying about kindness to self, that nurturing of self and being able to do that for oneself and then being able to ripple that out into the world, as I always share, in a world that truly needs it. And we are more aware of that right now than we have been for a very long time. So I just I I love being able to share in this space and just really grow and evolve with everybody um, that's present, um, and or those that are cheering us on, of course. So I love being here in this space, and I love also belief has such it's interesting because like for me when I think of the word belief, because actually that was my word a couple of years ago for the year. Um, it's like to me it's like hope on steroids. It's like it's not just wishful thinking and whatever. It's actually belief going, no, putting that energy behind it. This is the way forward. And just so it just feels like that to me as I went through my journey with the word for over the year. It's like, you know, and just trusting that all will be well. My phrase, right, Jan?
Yes, yes. Yes, that phrase is now in my head, Mary Jane. Every single time I'm like, all will be well. It's
I keep
now like
repeating that to myself.
it's now tattooed in there somewhere, in my head, so all will be well. But as you were talking about, as we're all talking about this, and I think that, when you start to get a little, when you go into that place of stillness and you are, I want to say, and you are with yourself in entirety, when you allow whatever is there to be there. I think the qualities within yourself that you tend to not, let's say, or, if you want to label, I don't like to label them as good or bad, that you would prefer not being, that were not there, tend to soften a little bit. And I think you get a better perspective or a better view of when I think about like a view, like a vista, like you get a better view of everything that's there. And it's only in allowing that to be there. One, can that element of, I think, faith, hope, belief, trust, can it be there? Because otherwise, you're too much in the ego and too much in the outside world, and it's very hard for it to enter. Um, but in addition, I think you are much more, like I referred to earlier and what Seamus shared, is you're much more compassionate and kind to other people. I think you don't really, you're not as, and the word that comes to mind is harsh. I think people can be very harsh. I think society in its busyness can feel harsh, unfeeling. I think, if you navigate anything these days, um, you know, people are in such overwhelm and such whatever, there's an abruptness to it, like a harshness, even in tone. I'm very tone sensitive. Like if people have I worked with a woman for a long time who was a wonderful woman. She was wonderful, and she was from um, what was then Russia. And she always had this very sort of harsh tone. It almost seemed like when she spoke, she was always angry. And I remember that it took me a long time to kind of not take it personally, that it was just like the way she spoke. But I remember in the beginning, it was very, very hard. I was very, that's not, I didn't grow up in a household, thank God. My parents were not, you know, very loud speaking. They didn't really yell often. They just weren't, that wasn't their personality at all. So I remember being in it, but it almost felt like I was being assaulted. Like it was like so harsh to me. And I think that in today's busyness, sometimes people are abrupt. They don't use pleasantries a lot. Sometimes there's no please, no thank you. Um, I grew up that if we didn't say please and thank you, there was like my grandmother would have had a fit. She would have been like, "Where were you raised?"
What's the
Or,
magic word, Jan?
yeah, she would say, "Where were you raised in a barn?" That was her phrase, like.
I love that. That yes, I experienced this as well, Jan. But it's interesting that you're bringing it in because it's interesting because and we see it even in situations today and how people it's it's almost like an instinctive reaction that comes from trauma that need to be aggressive and whatever. It's like a protection kind of right to self, whether it's our own trauma or people our relatives or people in the past. It does seem to be that kind of response where it's like we can obviously learn it because it's not always our response, but that sense of always having to fight for everything that you need, require, want, desire, whatever word you want to put in there. But it's interesting to see that. But as a child, you don't understand that because when, especially if you don't come from that kind of environment where that's been perpetrated, it's really interesting. But it does seem to follow the lines when people often have been in a place of being suppressed or basically told to quiet their voice and only speak the truth of someone else. That's often where that sort of harsh thing comes into being, or at least in my experience, that's what I've seen, as I've looked at reflected on those things, especially of late.
Hmm. I was
But the
thinking
things that
about,
come to mind,
yeah,
just on that word, Mary
yeah, no.
Jane, like is environment. Like, we often kind of blame the environment we're in for how we behave, but we create the environment as much as we kind of are part of it, I guess. And I think that's kind of been a game changer for me, realizing that, going back to what we've been talking about, is how we engage with ourselves. It
Hmm.
creates the environment for, how and the environment for others to to engage with us in a better way, but to engage with themselves maybe in a different way as well. Like so, I
Absolutely.
think that's so important. Like that environment we're in and awareness of that environment, beginning with our internal environment, because it's so easy to blame and look at the environment and you were mentioned there, like it's so easy to perceive, like our perception and judgment of others, how a person is talking. And John, to use your example, that could be at complete ease with themselves, but you're perceiving a certain, something isn't quite right. And maybe, you don't know what's going on inside. And I think that's the opportunity of awareness from every individual inside out is to, be aware of what's going on within yourself. Because when you are more attuned to that and more aware of that and honoring that, like it's Rumi, going back to Rumi as well, whichever guest is currently inside, you're engaging with that guest and then understanding the information that guest is presenting to you, and then you're actually you know creating from the information that's being presented to you, whatever emotion or information is being presented within your internal environment. The process or the practice we're talking about today is helping us to actually create a much kinder environment that invites others to actually be more tuneful for their own internal environment and contribute to the environment that we're all part of, I guess, So yeah, it's a lovely, lovely reminder, I think, again, of our obligation, I suppose, to ourselves and how that pays back in terms of when we do that inner work. it delivers immediately for everyone around us in our shared environment too, you know.
Yes, Seamus, thank you. And we use the word environment, and I was thinking about it because over the past, week and a half or week plus, I've been spending a lot of time with my family, my brothers and my brother and his kids and everything. So it's just interesting to me as I see and I observe some of what they say and how they respond. Now they're young, and so part of me is like, is this a reflection of, as we say, we all know that with age comes a certain amount of wisdom and maturity you know, and that, like, so that aspect of it also, but who they're surrounded with and what they hear. And so it's been very interesting for me to observe, um, like some of the words they use and some of the harshness, like these words of like, oh, I hate so and so. And I'm like, sitting there and I actually said something, like, it's, you don't want to hate anybody. Like we want to seek to understand people. We want to your point, we want to be able to understand and to and to be compassionate toward others, to be compassionate and understand why we have that feeling. Like, have we come to that conclusion ourselves? Did something happen? Um, did we, is it based on opinions that we've heard and our environment and other kids or other adults that are in our lives? Because I mean, these words came from my nephews who are quite, in their teens. And it was just, it's just really interesting for me to observe it over the past like few weeks, spending so much time with them. And then just reflect on our environment and what we, to speak to Seamus, like the people we surround ourselves with, the people we choose to spend time with, um, and their views and why we choose that. Like, what is it about certain people, for example, that feed you and actually, and it doesn't, and it isn't necessarily the fact that you share all the same um, thoughts and ideas. I think you basically share the same values. And that reminds me of Stephen's chapter in our upcoming book, Seamus. I think we share the same values of compassion and kindness to others, compassion and kindness to ourselves. Um, yeah, Mary Jane.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's like, yeah, that's it, that's what it's about. I mean, the systems or the things that we've adopted as part of who we are, um, they can be different. Those experiences can be different, but ultimately, they're all experiences of the heart, and that's where we need to focus more than the mind, but focus more to the heart. So that's it's yes, no heart. Well, with heart, mind, I think, tends to bring the harshness, the hard things, where we say those things like I hate. But heart is tends to generally be more open, and those harsh words are not part of its system. So I love that, that we can see those nuances, because it's true. I mean, we all experience those things. It's like, when we're experiencing challenge and stuff like that, we may, as we say, I'll say, you can't see me, but in air quotes, I hate this situation, or I hate the way I'm feeling. Um, but how much better is it when we say to ourselves, or bring into our heart and say, I am going to give myself the grace and ease, the loving compassion and nurturing that we all need. So it's about, our minds as we are humans, um, tend to try to take control. But that's what about the conversation today about the four things, right? Is just that literally, faith, hope, and belief and trust is are basically, those are the in the heart space, not the brain, the brain that wants to control, the ego. So I
Yeah, I
see.
think
Go ahead.
no, no, no. Because I think you're true, and we all go through those things, and I think um um it is allowing ourselves to feel whatever we're feeling, to navigate, to even have those phrases come into our head and not to deny that they're there
Yeah.
because they're part of the human experience,
Mm-hmm.
and to understand them a little better. And that's where I think the questioning starts to come. You could call it, you know, Mary Darlene's word, Mohiba's word, curious, to get
Hmm.
curious about them. My old acupuncturist and friend Kathy used to say, "Isn't that interesting?" Isn't that sort of like the Watson, like the Holmes and Watson? Isn't that interesting?
Yes, exactly.
That surfaced all of a sudden, because sometimes it's almost like because so many of those things feel somatic, like you feel them,
Hmm.
and you can feel them in your body, and a reaction will happen, and you'll have this like sort of thought in your head, and you'll feel uncomfortable, or you'll feel a tightness, something about it, like you might feel a fluttering in the heart or something, and then you're like, oh. And I think it is because it is a somatic reaction. It's a physiological thing that happens, that we get on, we feel it. Not only do we think it, but we actually feel it somewhere. For I have one of my first yoga teachers, and used to do a practice called Hakumi. And Hakumi is a is a therapy-based practice, but it was much more probably foundationed in or rooted in mindfulness and in being present.
Hmm.
And so literally you would go through, if you had a specific response or reaction to something, like, where you would label it, give it a color, talk about where you felt in your body, very somatically. And it's a very interesting thing to do, to actually go through something that you're going through and actually try to, and I don't want to say label it, but try to like kind of process
We're
it,
about 10 minutes. Can we wait on the hair?
uh, um, process it in that way. Because I think sometimes one is we don't necessarily have the words to articulate it, either because we don't have the words or we don't feel comfortable articulating it. So it's not like we feel like we can share it at some point. Maybe, at some point we will, maybe. But in the beginning, I think it's almost so immediate that we like, if you go through the stages where you don't want to react in a harsh way, or you don't want to have a severe reaction to, outward reaction in the presence of other people. It becomes very internal, and it gives you a time, I think. It allows a little space for you to go through whatever you're going through. It was a wonderful practice. I did it with her for quite a number of years.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's my yoga teacher as well has brought some of that into her practice on occasion too. So I love that. And Darlene and the curious, I see in the comments, it's like why am I feeling this emotion of hate, and what's there that's triggered me or been brought into my awareness, and that's very, very true because the old adage that it's like, sometimes the things that we dis you like in someone else are the things that we dislike most in ourselves. So there's something, something that's triggered or brought into awareness as to what it is that's shaping our feelings towards something. What does that have meaning? But yeah, it's just um, a beautiful scenario to be able to bring it into our awareness, and that also comes with um I don't want to say maturity because I'm not sure about something, but as people that are become more aware of how things are interacting in the world and how we're interacting in the space, we have more opportunity to reflect on that and hopefully grow from those experiences and understanding of ourselves and of others.
No, absolutely. I think that, and I also hesitate to use the word maturity, um, but I think there is this, and maybe it is somewhat of a maturity because you speak of people who are wise beyond their years,
Yes.
and I think that is a form of maturity. It's like they have a wisdom that is, you know, let's just say that's not common among their age group, for example.
Hmm.
So I think years ago they used to call it like, that person has an old soul,
Yes.
and the fact that they had a wisdom about them that was beyond their chronological years.
Yes. And it's funny because um one of my great nieces, which who we saw on the weekend, like sometimes, I mean, she is just a kid, but sometimes the little pearls of wisdom that she sort of drops and brings into our awareness, which is quite thing. It's thing, and that's what we always say that she's an old soul in a young person's body because
Mhm.
it's quite interesting as you sort of do just kind of like that double take. Go, what?
Yes.
I figure she's the little sage there, bringing those things into our awareness, and in the innocence of childhood, it makes she feels she's a very emotional enough feeling child. So I just love that when she brings those pearls of wisdom because not that she's not a kid and can do things too, but it's just like sometimes she just drops them and it's just like all the adults kind of, what? So it's like, thank you for bringing that to my awareness.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I love that. And I love what she was saying. We're
I
born
know.
wise and innocent. It's so true.
So
That,
true.
that's the juxtaposition now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely, thank you, Seamus, because that's absolutely what I feel and believe that we are born wise and innocent. And I think if you watch kids when they're really young playing, like there's very little that, they tend to, one is like everything is awe-inspiring. Like everything they look at, everything they do, how they navigate the world is with that curiosity, that very like awe-inspiring kind of way. And where the littlest thing becomes like a treasure. It's like the idea that the box is always better than the toy. And, they'll
It's
spend
so true.
hours, they'll spend hours playing with the box and the container, and they could care less about the toy, and
Yes.
so, yeah. And the whole aspect and how there is that very wise and very innocent feeling within them. It's
Hmm.
like they look at people far beyond the surface.
Yes.
And if they say something, like if they do like make a comment about someone's appearance or something, it's with that pure innocence and curiosity. The fact that they notice it's different. It's not meant in a judgmental kind of harsh way when they're that young. It's almost like, oh, that person doesn't look like me.
Yes.
And, or that person, has, is just, is it, whether it be a different gender or a different, different color skin, like it's just in this kind of curious, very inquisitive kind of way. And they're not basing it and like beyond that. They're not looking deeper. They look at the surface. At that point, they're looking at the surface and going, oh, okay,
Yes.
that's just not like me, and that's fine, and it's, I think, our kind of reading it into it and maybe not.
I was gonna say, I think I think often it's the older ones, not well, could be kids, older kids or adults. It's often our influence that brings the judgment.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's why I said when I was talking about my nephews, some of it doesn't know. Like as I sat there and I was observing, I wasn't, I was just like, is this age? And the fact that, my nephew's 14 and the other one is
Teenage
6.
angst.
Yeah, teenage angst and teenage, kind of like, I don't know, that whole idea of like, when you get, as I look at them and I remember being like that, better than, adults and better than anybody else and all that kind of stuff. Or is it, where they live and who they're around and the kids they're around and, my brother and sister-in-law and their judgments. And so it's just interesting for me to observe, some of the things that come out of their mouths.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just been very, it was very, I was, I was looking at it as the aunt.
Yeah.
As the aunt on the outside. Al, please.
Yeah, very interesting. You said the people is attracted to the box rather than the toy. It's the same like you going to the store to buy the banana. You took off some rituals. You take out the banana and they just eat the skin. They don't eat the banana. So it's for the healthy aspects. Sometimes they take the banana skin. Even though it might be not sweet. But it's for health purpose. Some people will do that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, coming back to this week's topic, there's so many wonderful words, yeah, like faith, trust, hope, and belief. So we, in us, we always have this belief. Beliefs. The acronym is begin every day living inspired and energy focused. So what we have is the inspired within ourselves is actually coming to the faith. Faith is a foundation accepted in our heart, or foundation always in our heart, which just means that when we are living inspired every day, this foundation always is in us. The same with like hope. Hope is like helping other people every day. So when we help other people, we also have the liberty to be joyful. Life and being authentic, and thus people trust us so much. So this gives us the quiet strength within us, which are actually invisible by itself, but everybody will be living it till the day we are leaving the legacy behind for the rest. Yep. So these are the three acronyms for this week that I'm sharing. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Wonderful. You're giving me lots of ideas that I want to have to talk, Mary Jane, you and I, Al. So, Mary Jane, should we anything to close or should we move into meditation?
I, this is my corny humor. I believe this is the time that we should move into it.
I was hoping you would say that.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So begin by finding a comfortable position. Allow your body to settle. Gently close your eyes or soften your gaze if it feels comfortable. Take a slow, steady breath in and a soft exhale out. Again, breathing in and then letting go. Bring your awareness to the natural rhythm of your breath. No need to change it. Just noticing. Feel the subtle movement in your body, the rise and fall, the gentle expansion, followed by the release. Simply notice what is here. Faith. Begin to invite in the energy of faith, not something you have to force, just a quiet openness. You might say silently to yourself, I am open to faith. I allow faith to gently support me. Even when I do not see clearly, I am held. Notice any sensations in the body, warmth, softness, or simply presence. Hope. Now gently allow hope to arise. Like a subtle shift, a soft lifting. You might notice the breath a little lighter, or a sense of space expanding within you. Silently affirm, hope lives within me. I am open to possibility. Even in uncertainty, something meaningful can emerge. Allow hope to simply be. Belief. Now bring your awareness to belief, more personal, more embodied. Notice how your body responds as you turn inward toward yourself. You might say, I believe in my ability to grow. I believe in my capacity to navigate whatever arises. I trust the wisdom within me. Feel into the steadiness of these words. The steadiness of the breath. Let them land where they need to. Trust. And now gently shift into trust, a softening, a quiet exhale. Notice where in your body you can release just a little. The shoulders, the jaw, the belly. You don't need to hold and clasp so tightly. Silently affirm, I trust the unfolding of my life. I don't need to have all the answers right now. I am supported as I take each step. Let the breath flow naturally in and out. Sit with all these words: faith, hope, belief, trust. No need to separate them. Just let them be a quiet presence, a quiet energy within you. Notice your body, the sensations, the stillness, the movement. Allow yourself to rest in this space. Begin to deepen your breath. Gently bring your awareness back to the space around you, noticing any sounds, any sensations where your body meets the surface of what you're sitting on or laying on. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes, carrying with you this quiet strength. faith, hope, belief, and trust, always within you.
Beautiful.
Thank you all for joining us today. Take a moment to connect with us, outside of these sessions. We would love to have a conversation, a discussion, a chat. Feel free to share the recording of this video or this conversation, which will be on our YouTube channel. We would appreciate that. Our next 4-part series with Darlene is coming up in May. Not so far away, kind of crazy. Let's say that.
Yeah.
And our next session for Spirit Born Imaginings is May 2nd.
Yeah.
So not too far away also, Saturday, 2 p.m. We would love to have you there. And Mary Jane, did you want to share a little bit about tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be part of AD Niriada's 2026 Voice Summit tomorrow. Um, it's an amazing day filled with amazing people, very and like energizing, warm space like here. And I've been an attendee for the last several years, and so this year she asked me if I would like to speak. So I, ooh, Al City already registered. I love it. Um, yeah, and so it's a full day of stuff, which you can hop in and out. So it's free to attend live. And my session with my speaking partner, Darcy Kisner Hawkins, is at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where we're going to be speaking about silencing your inner bully and letting your creativity flow. And I'm really excited to share in that space. And I welcome all of you to register if you haven't already. You're able to pop in and out. You're not expected to stay there for the full day. Of course, you're welcome to as well. But it's just a lovely space, and I think the beautiful people in this space would um, garner a lot of inspiration there as well. So I invite you to that if it feels open. But I'm really excited because I guess officially this is kind of my first real speaking event. So I would love to see you there as well. So thank you.
Yes, thank you all. Have a good week. Um, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.